Welcome back to Writers and Readers. With me is poet and self-published author Jim Scott. Jim, welcome to the show.
Good to be here, thank you.
You write beautiful poetry.
Thank you.
I was very fortunate to run into you reading at the Newmarket Library. It was really quite a treat. There's many types of poetry out there. Who would you compare your own work to so viewers would get a sense of what you write?
Well, from an English standpoint, which is where I'm from, I think Rudyard Kipling was a big inspiration for me. My father used to recite it to me when I was a kid. But to give a Canadian connection, I think Robert Service. It's his sort of lyrical verse.
Yes,
and,
yes, I can see Robert Service.
Yeah,
that's right.
it adheres to the rhythm pretty rigidly.
Yeah.
And the rhymes have to be real rhymes.
Yeah.
So it's classical poetry in that sense, but sort of in a contemporary setting.
How did your life lead you to writing these poems? I know you have an interesting background.
Yeah, well, I've traveled a lot, but the poetry started, I think, when I was in the Merchant Navy, watchkeeping at night, doing the graveyard watch, midnight to 4, out in the middle of the ocean, week after week after week, with really not a lot to do. I had to do something to keep myself going.
Sure.
And I just started doodling, you know, with words, and poems started to form, and I just took it from there and kept on going.
So you had a life at sea, and you were writing about the sea. Do you have a short selection for us that we could hear?
Yeah.
Give our viewers a great treat and let them hear what you've written.
Sure. I'll give you one here that, if I can find it. This is one that's pretty popular. I'm actually going to give you an abridged version of it because it's quite long. It tells the story of a fellow that's come to the end of his seafaring years.
Go crazy and take all the 60 seconds.
Okay, I call it Wrecked, and I contextualize it with a quote by Oscar Wilde. I say, "Experience is the name everyone gives to their mistakes," which is very apt. He's dreaming of the shore that he knows he'll see no more, and lamenting now his fate so cruelly tossed. He never thought that life could go so fast. The shadows of the past are merely all the ghosts of what he's lost. He used to run so free when he sailed upon the sea, never knowing of the ports to which he'd call. Adventure born on every southern gale, which filled his vagrant sail to take him every place and see it all. And love he surely knew, whether false or whether true, for as many girls as he'd seen distant lands. But now his eyes look back towards the truth, so hidden in his youth, and tears flow as he quietly understands. He chose to sail alone. Now he's stranded on his own, with no other soul with whom he might grow old. He should have settled down and made a home, but chose instead to roam in search of what adventure's path might hold. His journey's ended here, where the waters run so clear and tomorrow's been decided by the past. He didn't feel the turning of the tide, nor knew the sea might hide the dangers where his future's now been cast. He's grounded high and dry as the ebbing tide flows by, in a distant land he'd tried so hard to find. He wished now that he'd chose the other tack, that would have sailed him back to places he now yearns for in his mind. His keel's been broke in two. He's no strength to build anew, and he hasn't got the spirit nor the heart. He's only got the memory of what's gone. He wants to carry on, but doesn't see at his age how to start. If only he'd have known of the pains from being alone when the wind drove him upon this leeward shore, he never would have set that wayward track that never took him back to where he thought of settling down before. And dreaming of that isle brings a melancholy smile as he thinks of all the happiness he's lost. That lass that he left there waving from the sand, with flowers in her hand. This empty soul his wanderlust has cost. He turns to let the spray wash his bitter tears away as he curses loud the calling of the sea. His fists are clenched in anger at the thought of life so come to naught, a prison made from striving to be free.
Wow.
Yeah, that's...
I almost don't know what to say to you about that. It's remarkable, that sense of searching for freedom. You know, I mean, I remember traveling as a young guy and being out on the sea at the Straits of Gibraltar, and seeing the sun glistening off the sea, and getting that sense of freedom that you're looking for. Do you feel that when you look at the sea?
When I look at it, when I'm on it, yeah, absolutely. The sea for me is just such a huge pulse of positive energy. It can take you anywhere you want to go. It can be peaceful, it can be angry, it can be anything you want it to be, and very often it is.
When you start writing a poem, do you have the idea first, or do you just sit down and start writing?
That's an interesting question, because very often I start with an idea. The poem itself has a different idea.
Yeah, it
And
takes on its own
it
life.
does.
Yeah.
And I find myself just the guy holding the pen trying to keep up with where it's going. They're the good ones. The ones that sort of write themselves, like the one I just read, that one just flowed. It was like I was in the saddle and it was taking me where it wanted me to go.
Yeah, yeah, that's marvelous. Now, books of poetry are very difficult to get published. Your 3 books are self-published.
Yeah.
I've got a minute left. Can you tell us about that?
The self-publishing, of course, you're on your own for the marketing. And that's where a lot of self-published people fall down, I think. The publishing is the easy part because there's companies that will do it for you.
Sure.
But it's the marketing that's the difficult part. And books of poetry, especially the classical type poetry I write, it's not a very popular genre these days. So it is difficult to get it going. But they're actually selling well, better than traditional publishers say they should.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Well, yours are going to sell well because they're fantastic. That's the main thing. Now, I think we can say that your books are available at Chapters, Indigo.
Yeah, they're on Amazon. They're in all the electronic formats. Everything
Marvelous.
you can think of, you can get them.
Marvelous. Well, thank you for being with me today. I thoroughly enjoyed talking
My pleasure.
to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching, readers and writers, everyone. We'll see you next time.